and welcome to He Say, She Say Family Coach Live. I am so honored to have you here joining in the conversation. Look, think of this as a family conversation. The gender wars stop here at Law for Love. All over the internet, you got men versus woman, female energy, male energy. It's all over the place. And here, we're here to hear both sides so that we can find the truth. Because when I'm listening, I'm hearing two sides that are hurting, and we need to get to the bottom of this for the survival of our community and the strengthening of our families. And so today, we're going to take a little bit of a turn and talk about business and men and women in relationship when it comes to doing business. And so my guest today is actually my boss. So in my private practice, I work with a number of clients. My clients, I work for them. And this guest of mine, Mr. Karras Copeland, he is one of my employers. I also work in a voluntary capacity under his leadership for Quest to Unite Africa, which is very near and dear to my heart and that of the community that I am a part of. And so I just want to give you a little bit about who Karras is. He is a passionate leader. And he is super duper big on challenging himself and encouraging other people. In fact, the foundation of Quest to Unite Africa came from this core group of supporters who went to Karras every day in and day out for encouragement and inspiration from the scriptures and just from life in general. And his candor and his personality has really attracted and a bunch of support both inside of Quest Unite Africa and in the community at large. So he's super duper passionate about empowering and equipping individuals. Now he's a dad of 4 kids. He has 2 sons, 2 daughters, very equally balanced out here. And he's a career military man. He did some intelligence work as an intelligence officer in the United States Special Operations Command and has a lot of project management experience in that technology and security space and brings just a vast knowledge base into his work at Quest to Unite Africa, where he fosters an amazing culture that we're going to be talking about during the show today as it relates to men and women in the workplace and in leadership. So without further ado, I'm just going to bring you up. Welcome to He Say, She Say, Karras.
Hey, greetings. I like to say shalom, salama, siyemi, shalom. And so thank you, Sister Shar, for allowing me to come on in here. I will not be long winded with the introduction. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Um, but yeah, I definitely, your words of encouragement, it melted my heart. So, but I don't really see myself like that. I just try to make sure that, people can understand what I'm saying. And, I'm just praying that they can see what I'm doing, and we just go from there. And if that's too hard of a challenge, I'll just let the Most High deal with it, and we go from there.
So, Brother Karras, that's the whole point of us having this conversation. Because for me, I think that our culture has amplified the voices of women to the point where we're drowning out our men.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just want to help kind of like give a behind the scenes of your leadership style and the culture that you are fostering at Quest Unite Africa, because I was sharing with you earlier that I've never worked in a workplace with the male female dynamic that exists in Quest Unite Africa, where there is so much honor for female voices and female leadership. And so I just want to kind of invite you to speak on that a little bit. Like, is that something that has been intentional on your part, or where does that come from? That culture that I know I sense and other women are sensing in the leadership at Quest Unite Africa.
Well, I think, when we talk about Bible and being a biblical based, faith based organization, that we look at the scriptures in terms of the really the Israelite structure and the Hebraic faith that is something that we were really separated from. And that was an intentional separation. And so when we understand how the balance is with how the man and the woman function and interacts according to Bible, it's really one of those things that the functionality is there. It's just that how do we interpret that as we listen to one another and as we are able to, you know, integrate with one another. I look at what we see in Judges chapter 5 with Deborah, right, and Barak. You know, there was the motivational factors that, you know, Barak was like, all right, I got the strength and you got the bronze or the brain, right? And, you know, she said, listen, we got to get this thing taken care of, right? The same thing is said when you had David, and David had the one widow of the man that was shrewd, and then she ended up becoming his actual wife. And so that was some knowledge that was always gleaned from the aspect of the woman and her, in the role that is done in terms of being able to provide, right, the necessary, you know, kick in the butt per se. But in terms of the what a man does in this particular concept of culture, you know, is so out of whack with what we see in the biblical context, is that it's hard for us to really understand the balance because we tend to think that the dynamics that we have is something that's of, you know, some sort of contention. And really, it's not. It was never supposed to be of a contention. It was supposed to be of a competing idea of two different mindsets. And so just because some mindset is said doesn't necessarily mean that it's, well, we got to go against that because, you know, it really makes me feel uncomfortable. And, you know, I don't really want to do it that way because I've always done it my way. And, you know, I always, you know, so we have to get away from that. And I go through those challenges just like anyone else. And then I realize and say, okay, Father, I thank you because the challenge isn't from what's said. The challenge is from how do you interpret it and how do you move forward with it and then go from there. Because sometimes we learn a thing or two about ourselves with the emotional underpinnings that we get from, you know, stepping in a new direction.
So I'm glad that you touched on emotional underpinnings and like these competing perspectives, right? So over the weekend, I've been seeing some videos or some commentaries about male energy and men stepping into their male energy and female energy and women resting in their female energy. And I question whether or not that's the correct issue. I I personally believe that the issue comes down to authority, right? So when I'm looking at you as my brother in your male authority, when I look at my other brothers in their male authority, and then I look at my sisters in their authority, then when you know your authority, you have no problem with yielding to another person's authority. And I know that I speak on behalf of other leaders in the organization when I say that what makes it great working under your authority is that you don't walk around with the big stick telling everybody, I'm the boss. Do what I tell you to do. It's my way or the highway. Like, the king doesn't have to say he's the king. He doesn't have to walk around brandishing what his authority is. When you know who you are, you walk in it. You have any thoughts about this male energy, female energy thing? Or what do you think about this conversation in the culture?
I think, to be honest, we live in a culture that's so heavily divided that they have to try to do a framework that's not necessarily the reality of things. A lot of times we've been placed in, pseudo leadership positions, especially where with what I've been at in the military. Right, you're given a place to really be the boss, to really do everything and have everything done, but you're not going to get the title because you're not going to get the recognition and credit of doing everything within the organization, right? And so with that, we try to then compete with one another of, well, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to, brandish my star. And see, the problem that worldly thought has with things in the biblical space is that you don't have to do the crazy, gymnastics. It's not about that. It's about really walking in the authority that the Most High has already given you, because He's given each and every one of us the authority to do great things. Now, do some of us need a little bit of mentoring, a little bit of molding, right? Do some of us need a little bit of a lot more encouragement than others? Absolutely. This system was designed to wreak havoc on our emotional confidence. And see, when you're dealing with folks at Quest to Unite Africa, we have to basically bring you into the fold, and we have to say, listen, we have to give you kind of a personality assessment. We have to see where you're at, because, a lot of people come on in here and they just think, well, I can do things this way, or I can do things that way. And we say, hold up. You got to learn this culture, because this culture is something that you've never experienced before, because it's something that you see based on this word. And we're not here to just try to undermine people and throw folks under the bus. No, that's Babylon. We don't deal with that system. But what we want to do is to be able to nurture you and to foster the environment so that you can grow and understand how we're doing things, not for our glory, not for someone else's glory, not for my glory, but for the Most High's glory. And so when we do that and folks understand, oh, wow, I can actually talk. Oh, wow, my opinion is actually validated and it's seriously considered.
I
That's where
think
a lot
that
of people getting in the shock.
I think that that's what makes Question Night Africa such a trailblazer, because you're literally in a space where you're taking the scripture and you're taking its model of government and you're implementing it in a nonprofit, and it's a culture that looks nothing like Babylon. When there was this point in the growth of the organization where we used the term executives, and it was just it didn't work. Like, no, there's no pyramid here. There's no, us and them. This is, we're all a tribe working together, and we still, are working through as an organization what that looks like in terms of you leaning into your strength and covering my weakness, me leaning into my strength and covering your weakness, us all moving together in the same direction. It is so foreign. Like,
Mhm.
I've never experienced anything like it, not even in the church culture where I was once really a big part, even, worked in my church. And so, kudos to the board, because I know you won't take responsibility single-handedly. But, you know, fostering this environment where people can come and be heard. People can come
Mhm.
and voice themselves. Even in some Hebrew Israelite communities, you will hear this very strong tone of women sit down, be quiet, or sit in the corner and shut up. And to your point, you brought up Deborah. Deborah was a judge. How is she going to sit down somewhere and not say anything? So, I appreciate you saying that and speaking to the culture for everyone to come and be heard. You use words like collaborate a lot. and you use words like sync. Tell
Hmm.
tell the audience a little bit more about like why collaborate, why sync, what does that mean to you?
Well, I always look at things that, words do have value and they do have meaning. And when you are syncing together, syncing is basically the truncated word or form of synchronization. You have to synchronize. And in order to synchronize, you have to be on one sheet of music. But in order to do that, you really have to understand where that person's coming from, how they think, how they feel, how they move, right? But if you don't understand it, and then we draw in some, some pre-cognitive or some other bias or heuristics that we just have, because we think that in certain scenarios, certain environments, well, this is going to be the way it is because that's what I've learned in Babylon, and that's not how we conduct business. We have to be in front of our people and we have to talk to our people. That's the same thing that the Israelites have always done. Who's
Absolutely.
this messenger? Why?
Absolutely.
Because you have to understand the intent. Okay, all right, then tell them this and tell them that. Because why? Because I need to get more understanding. Nehemiah even said this when they were working on the wall, putting folks to where they need to go, showing them you need to do that section, you need to work that section. If you need something, you let your runner know your runner is supposed to get this or get that. If they need to reinforce, you let them know. So, guess what? Everybody could watch each other. And I know it's a hard concept because Babylon's told us that you watch yourself at all costs and forget everybody else because at the end of the day, when somebody's eating and you're starving, then that's your fault. That's not the culture of of Hebrews. It never was. You see the culture literally on the continent. Nobody's starving unless they want to starve. They know where to run to, they know who to go back to, they know who to ask for help. And that's been something that we've lost as a culture because we think that asking for help is a sign of weakness, but actually asking for help is a sign of strength because then folks can then impart their strength on you. So then you can impart what you've learned in your shortcoming on others.
You are like, you literally just brought to my mind the concept, the Hebrew economics of don't glean your whole field,
Mm-hmm.
because there was no such thing as hunger among our people. Why? Because if you were poor, if you were fatherless, if you were widow, you can go right back into that field and you can
Mm-hmm.
glean what was left behind intentionally for that purpose, that there would be no hunger amongst our people. And even and the other thing that came to mind when you were saying what you were saying was about how even like not even a whole generation ago, it wasn't uncommon in a black community for your parent to send you next door to go borrow something, like go ask the neighbor for a cup of sugar, or
Mm-hmm.
what happened to us. It's like this division on every single front, and now it's boiling down to the very foundation of our community, which is how we hear each other and how we support each other. So of course the name of this show is Let Him Be Great. Now the story that I tell leading up to this is that I recognize that I get in the way. Society has empowered me as a woman to say what I want to say, do what I want to do, and I get away with what I want to get away with because I'm a female, and I can take license to kind of like just have my way. But I'm also a mom and a sister, three sons, three brothers, and a husband. And I've had to learn how to support the men in my family by moving out of the way when I find that I have gotten in their way. And so, I wanted to speak a little openly here about our leadership interactions in Question Night Africa, me as your counsel, and you as my boss when it comes to who's really making the decisions. Because, I say this all the time, I don't have a vote. I don't have a vote. I've been told that I could be pretty persuasive, but let's talk about that. What is the trickiest part of working with a domineering, opinionated? uh,
I like that. I like what you are trying to say as a lawyer for your mea culpa. In terms of no, you the boss. No, just to be frank, Sister Shar and I, we have bumped heads in the past. It was things that I would do, and she'd be like, "Well, why are you doing that?" And I'm explaining, "Look, I do this X, Y, Z, this," and then she would say, "Brother Karras, I see what you're doing, but I don't think that that's going to really work too well." And then she would come through, and she would then diagram her approach, and I would say, "I get what you're saying." But I see these factors here because this will lead to this, this will lead to this, this will lead to this. And she's saying, "Oh, I see. Oh, I see." Because, she's like, "I see what you're saying, Brother Karras. And what you're saying is like 50 steps, ahead." And I said, "Yeah, I understand because, it's not that I've never done this before. It's just that the fact that this is what I used to do all the time in the military with international partners. And that's how I would have such a great rapport with them because, we would strategize and sit down with them to get things together, and even it was hard for our board to understand how we dealt with our Tanzanian counterparts until I sat down and explained to them, like, look, they see you like this. They think of you like that. They work with you like this. They do, and a lot of our board had strong opinions because it was just different in terms of how the interactions were. But once they started to understand, hey, this is how they interact. They're not going to be very fast, quick, and in a hurry. They're going to be this. They're going to be that. I mean, listen, Sister Shar got on me the other day. She said, "Brother Karras, calm down. The folks are going to contact you. They move on African time." And I said, "Yeah, you're right." And then we got the email, and hey, sorry for the delay. Basically, they move on African time.
So your testimony for the record is that you do not always listen to me.
No, I don't.
You
I
don't do
don't.
what I
But
tell you
I'll
to do.
challenge you. I'll challenge what you're saying because, when I challenge, I'm like, all right, I want to get a better understanding because I look at it like this. It's my job to then articulate that throughout the organization of this is where we see these challenges, but we also see these opportunities. And there's a great model, Sister Shar had brought, and I'm like kind of scratching my head. I'm like, independent contractors. What about just folks being an organization? And then I realized, no, independent contractors is great because there's a liability there that you don't have to take on because it gets transferred to X, Y, and Z. And so I said, oh, I get it. I get it. But it also helped to expand what we're trying to do with critical infrastructure and economic development so that things don't always have to be done in house, but we can manage what's being done for the benefit of Quest United Africa.
Now I want to make sure we give credit where credit is due when it comes to the idea of independent contractors. I co-signed on it, but that
That was
idea was
Mike.
birthed out of Brother Michael.
That was
And
Mike's idea.
that
Yeah.
business mind of his, it like when he get the when he goes into the business world, like Brother Mike's creativity and his insight in business things, it's just like incredible. And so,
Hmm.
I'm glad you mentioned some of the back and forth that happens, right? Because I'm wondering how often that is common in other workspaces. Would you know, in terms of being able to challenge a female without it becoming, hypersensitive, emotional, like my feelings are hurt, I'm out to get you. Like we we engage in serious intellectual discourse, questioning, challenging, and analysis behind the
Hmm.
scenes. Is that something that you've ever done in a workspace where it was kind of co-ed, or do you find perhaps that it's different in a male-dominated workspace versus a mixed gender workspace?
Well, let me tell you, where I was stationed at, especially at CENTCOM, United States Central Command, it was very co-ed dominated. And, I'm going to tell you what we do at Quest United Africa. Oh my goodness. One of my jobs was an equal opportunity leader. And as an equal opportunity leader, what I was trained on there in the military would totally be against all equal opportunity leadership protocols. Because really, we get into it and we throw down and we have really a murder board of ideas. Hey, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. Yeah, that could work. Yeah, that's not going to work. Shout out to Brother Red. We just murder each other's ideas. It's like, take out your knives, and you know, and Mike would have hurt feelings. I would have hurt feelings. Star would have hurt feelings. Patea, Walt, and Princess. And we have to do that because it's not that it's, well, we don't like each other or we're just hard to deal with. No, we understand that if we don't deal with that at the top, our actions then snowball as it comes from the top all the way throughout the organization. And we try to keep our organization very, very flat for a reason, because we value what folks bring to the table. So as they come through, and then we can go and vet, that's our job. We vet everything that's said to us. So then we can provide value in that vetting. Hey, we appreciate that. And then, hey, would you like to be able to be the lead in what you just suggested? Because this is your idea and we want you to follow through with it. And we'll put the resources that you need behind it to get what you need to have done.
Now
That's
I
what
have
we
to
try to do.
I have to bring something to your attention. There was a decision that you made that kind of cut against my emotions about the situation. But ultimately, I had to respect it because it was the right decision. And I could definitely see in this one particular situation, I was leaning more in an emotional, kind of sentimental, kind of can we hold hands and sing kumbaya? And you went, no, absolutely not.
What did I say? Listen, you may be an executioner, right? But I'm a head chopper. I'm a head chopper. I told you that.
So
I'll
that's
bring
the
that
thing.
sword on out and just.
You want everyone to believe that I'm so mean.
She's really not mean. She's really not mean. So you need to be on some of these board meetings. I'm a little mean, especially if I'm tired. And when I do that lean, I hit that desk. I do that lean. Let me tell you, I love you.
Man, but I think that that's a healthy balance, right? because sometimes, just sometimes, even as analytical and as logical and as as reasoned as I can be in looking at what your options are, I can be soft, in a situation that requires like, nah.
Hmm.
And I just want to let for everyone to hear that you have been willing to do that. You have been willing to make hard decisions, and just like whatever the fallout is, it's my call. Like, this is what it has to be. And I respect that. And I think that, for women in general, sometimes we struggle with that because if the decision doesn't feel right to us, then we can get a little disoriented. But in respecting your authority and then taking my feelings out of the situation and looking at it objectively, you made the right call, bro.
Well, here's the thing. A lot of times, I don't think I make the right call. I don't. And a lot of the times, me. If there's a decision that needs to be made, what do? We pray about that thing. We say we drop it. We pray. We say, Father Yah, we give you the glory through your Son Yahushua Hamashiach. Father, cover us, purify us, that when we request your answer and your decision, that it's timely. And we don't understand. See, the more that we are covered in gunk with sin and everything else, do you understand that that is how you do not have timely things work out, because there's too much gunk there. So we have to continue to work on ourselves. We listen, we go through intermittent fasts, we go through just different fasts, we go through different, hey, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And it's not to say, oh, we're trying to be more holier than now. Well, I'm so holy that, I've haven't eaten in 30 days. No. But what we do is, look, we need to make sure that we come through in accordance with these scriptures, because why? Because the Most High's people will know if you're real or if you're fake. Here's the thing. I don't care how much makeup you still put on a pig. A pig is going to be a pig. I don't care how much spiritual makeup you try to put on wickedness. It's still going to be wicked.
We got to be out here testing fruit and inspecting our own fruit.
Mm-hmm. And I do that all the time. I'm like, Father, I need your help. Father, I need your help. If there's something that's in me, there's a couple times I said, you know what? I don't know if I'm in the right position for this, because I don't know if I'm if this is where the Most High needs me to be right now. I've had that conversation. And then the board members would look at me like, Brother Karras, you're exactly where the Most High needs you to be. And I had to say thank you, I appreciate it. And then I just have to sit my behind down and then let things manifest. Because it's awesome to see how the Most High just does things. He manifests things that you don't even understand. It's like, wow, I didn't even realize this. Wow, this is crazy. Hey, Sister Shaw will be coming through. Hey, I just found out this and this and that. Brother Mike will be saying, hey, I got a contact here. But you have to understand, people get thrown in our direction.
They do. They do. It's been like, how did this happen? How did I meet you? How did this
Mm-hmm.
even become a connection? Like, and nobody orchestrated any of it. It just, the Most High's timing. What a blessing. Now, oh, I forgot to give you a public shout out about your recent accomplishment. You are now a certified project manager. And so I will say, I was confused why you went to get the certification because Crusty Night Africa is a project. And you've been at the head of managing the project all along. But hats off to you for, getting that thing accomplished. I know that this thing was of some very personal meaning to you with respect to a communication you had with your son saying, you know what, I'm gonna get it done, and you made it happen. And so how has he responded to your accomplishment?
Well, he embellished the fact. He said, "Dad, see, I told you, you need to just get it knocked out. See, I told you, Dad." Um, I've always been the type of person. I said, "Look, I'm gonna get it done. I'm gonna get it done." And here's the thing. It was interesting because, to be honest, back in November, I had my Security Plus certification. I didn't do my certification. I didn't pay the 150. I didn't worry about doing, all the stuff that I need to do. And I just let it lapse. I said, you know what, Father? I don't even really know what we're doing with Questy Night Africa. I said, well, I'm gonna let it lapse. And then, CompTIA said, hey, you have 90 days. I wasn't even thinking about that. I said, all right, we're just going to do this, we're going to do that. There was a lot of things that was really on our shoulders. I think I was more concerned about the 501c3 coming through, and then, moving and shifting gears. And so after that, it was December, the 501c3 happens, and then we're getting the internal processes. And, I got something, just an email from Project Management Institute, and it said your application is going to be expiring on February 1st. And I said, oh, yeah, I forgot about that. I said, but man, that thing's like $500. I ain't doing it. so so then I talked to my son, because my son's been talking. He was talking about computer certification since he's in high school, and he's like, Dad. He brings this on up to me. He said, Dad, if you have your project management certification, you could get more jobs and this and that. I said, I get it, Matt. I said, but I'm not doing this for jobs. I already have a pretty good job, and it's going to reap its benefits in due time. And we understand it's getting ready to do that. I said, I'm going to do it for a different motivation. I said, instead of getting it for my glory, I'm going to get it for his glory, because it's going to be a testament of how I was able to do it. Now, let me tell you this, family. When you do your project management certification, when I did my little training and things of that nature, they give you 90 days. And when I say they give you 90 days, you need to get all that 90 days, because that thing is tough. Besides the bar exam, the project management professional certification is right underneath of it. And I had already failed that 3 times. 3 times. So think about that. I said, I really don't want to be a failure, But I'm going to tell you how awesome this is. I prayed about this. I said, Father, this is for you. I said, I thank you and I glorify you. And, I'll give you praise. If I pass it, I'll give you praise if I don't pass it. But I thank you, Father. And let me tell you, when I was there at the board, I was, what was it, first 2-3 weeks, I was, listening and, still listening and, still taking tests. And when I was taking tests, I was scoring like 80% on the test while I'm still engaged with our board members. And I'm like, I thought this was going to be a little bit harder than I thought and then when the test happens, because I bought the thing on January 3rd, or excuse me, January 2nd. I bought it January 2nd to take the test. That was $500 some coming out of my pocket. January 30th was when I took the test. And I had been running around too. The board knew I was running around. I was tired. I was exhausted, and I was still studying, from night and day. I was staying up till about 11 o'clock, just still reading. And, um, as the days approached it, actually, I wasn't nervous. And they're like, Karis, you nervous? I said, honestly, I'm not really that nervous. But Brother Walt was like, you're not nervous, Karis. You got this. And I said, you know what? I think I do. The only thing that I was nervous about is that thing was 180 questions. That's a long test. But the good thing is they gave me 3 breaks. Because I said, I can't be sitting there for that. You need to give me breaks. Breaks, breaks, breaks.
So for the board, we all see you. And I
Mm-hmm.
think I speak beyond the board. I speak to the greater community of Quest Unite Africa. It's your leadership that keeps us all kind of seeing the vision of the
Mm-hmm.
mission, critical infrastructure, economic development. And we know that you didn't want this job. We know you wanted to stay behind the scenes.
I did. I did.
But that is the motivating factor, is that you weren't power hungry. You weren't looking to be the HNIC. You weren't power tripping, and you still don't do it. You yield to each and every stakeholder, not just the board, but anyone who would call you or email you. You're ready to respond. And I think we all understand and appreciate that that's what leaders are made of. That's
Mm-hmm.
what's required of us. And even to that point, thinking about you and your son in the conversation and you showing him, because we also have another nickname for you, Coach Carrots, right? So would you like to talk about some of your vision with respect to developing other leaders, both male and female, within Quest Unite Africa, or the other well, I know you got a couple of projects and moving pieces going around, but
Mm-hmm.
would you like to tell us a little bit more about your vision for leadership in the next generation and developing younger leaders?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Because as I was talking to you about how I was able to study and the PMP test and how I was able to do it daily with the interactions of the board, with how we would, I already knew the project man. I was already telling and doing things in a project management capacity. But this was different because the nature of our communication with one another is something that we have that's been molded over the last couple of months. And honestly, it feels like the last couple of years. But we've been able to click, and being able to click has shown, look, we're in a, even though we're kind of in a high stressful environment, we're very relaxed. Nobody's here stressing out and saying, I need this, I need that. We're like, what do you need and how can we help you get to what you need to get to? And that's where I look at it as, I want to have a leadership seminars because we've been so ingrained in this Babylonian type of mythos that's not even practical. It's actually fake. Hey, we're going to have a great organization. Let me hire a black dude that I know is competent. And, once we're good and, our return on investment and our working capital is up to par, then we'll just get rid of them. And that's what we think. And that's how we feel. So we don't even know how to be comfortable in a job because we're like, well, if I'm going to make them too successful, then guess what? I'm out the job. And there's issues with that. So now when they're here in an organization and the brother and the sister are here and they can say, look, I don't have to use and employ the same type of tactics that would keep me employed in Babylon. It's hard. It's hard for them because why? Because as our women have been trained in the system, they have to come through and they have to wear the sword and the shield and they have to come through swinging on everybody.
We're tired.
Yeah. And we just say,
We're
hey,
tired of being on
relax.
the front
We literally have to tell folks, hey, relax,
line.
relax. And we have to go to our leadership and we have to explain to our leadership, this is our model. We've had to do that with a couple of directors, with a couple of our leaders. And we had to say, listen, we were trying to get you to fine tune the model off of what we're doing, but it was hard for them to really understand the strategy because a lot of our brothers and sisters have been so ingrained in the Babylonian model that it's hard for them to pry it off.
Yeah, because you're not micromanaging. You're not bossing over anyone. You're not lording over anyone. You're not threatening anyone if they don't get it done. You're not applying unnecessary pressure and demanding people to just jump through hoops. You're sitting back and you're saying, okay, here's your authority. Go
Mm-hmm.
be great. I mean, well, didn't that just happen today in one of the meetings with one of our newly branded leaders?
Who's
Hey,
listening in on the chat? And that's what, but that's what we want to do. Listen, everybody here comes with a unique skill set. And honestly, it's a skill set of life because here's what Quest Unite Africa is: we're modeling life, according to biblical principles. We need medical, we need teachers, educators, we need engineers, construction workers, IT. We need the whole gambit. This is why Quest to Unite Africa is so voluminous because of how we need everything. And everything can fit snugly inside Quest to Unite Africa.
now, how how much of a country, well, like a juxtaposition to the Babylonian scarcity, not enough, compete, 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 like that just
For
doesn't
you to find
exist.
juxtaposition, that's a big word for me.
You're the one to be using the big words.
Well, I suppose as you juxtapose,
Contrast. It's a huge contrast to Babylon.
mhm,
Scarcity and not enough, and we got to compete for scarce resources. There's none of that here.
mhm,
And I think that what you are at the helm of right now is a super duper special place on earth. And in fact, even my team appreciates being in the background of this very special type of community leadership and initiative, this grassroots movement that is fostering a spirit of unity for our community. And that's why I believe the conversation about our differences as men and women and where we're challenged working with each other is such an important piece of our healing so that we can figure out how to move forward. There was once where my son, who I homeschool, of course, was privy to a heated debate happening in the board between two of the brothers. And he was like, Mommy, what's what's going on? And I was like, oh, that's just men hashing it out. And he was
mhm,
like, but like where else can we be safe to disagree, and it's not a personal attack, it's not
mhm,
name calling, it's not threatening to take something away from you, fire you, or throw you under the bus. It's literally just a meeting of the minds. And you know, and that thing went around and around and around. And then once the conversation landed where it needed to land, they were like, all right, you cool, yeah, you know, meet you for coffee. Like, like all of that didn't just happen. But isn't that how we're supposed to be as a people?
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I come in with, um, biases. I come in with my own thought process. And I know my thought process is very military centric in terms of how I see things, how I want things to go. But then I realize it's like, no, it's not how I want things to go. It's how the Most High is placing those things. And I have to understand the challenge isn't because it's me. The challenge is because it's the Most High pushing me into something that may be uncomfortable for me to be able to understand the patience that's necessary for our people. And so, when people will say, well, is that just Brother Karras saying this, just words? No, no, it's not. And folks saw the patience that was endured, for a couple of months. But that was me. I want to mentor. I want to make sure that our people understand, what it is that we're trying to do. And I'm trying to empower other folks to be great.
Yes.
My
And
leadership that I've always seen was, if you are a great leader, then guess what you're going to have? Great people.
yes. And you just brought up the perfect example of your number one mentee who sat in your seat on your last Friday show.
Mhm.
you you put him in that position. Hey, you got this. Sink or swim, Garth. And he did a great job.
Yeah,
He did a great job. And that was a great example of leadership in action. Leaders are willing to share the platform. Leaders are willing to promote other people. Leaders are
absolutely.
not trying to hog the spotlight or take the glory. True leaders understand that the glory doesn't even belong to us in the first place. It's all
Mm-mm.
about the Most High's glory. You know, even when
Bingo.
he said, hey, I'm going to restore you to your former estate, but please don't get it twisted, my people. It's not because of you. It's
No.
because of me. It's because of
Bingo.
my name. It's because these nations must put respect back on my name. Everything I do for you is
Mhm.
for my own glory. And when
Yes.
we put ourselves in that proper perspective, that's when we do a good job leading. And that's what I appreciate so much about the leadership at Quest Unite Africa. Now, I wanted to ask you a couple of questions to see what you think about these things. So it said that there are a couple of things that men find challenging working with women in the workplace. And one of those items is that um, men find that communicating with women is difficult for the purpose of collaboration. Um, Now, is it, or do you find that collaborating with women is same or different than collaborating with men?
Honestly, if I said no, that would be a straight lie. Collaborating with women is very, very different because here's the thing: women want things to be nice and neat and tidy, and it's hard to say it's not going to be nice, it's not going to be neat, and it's not going to be tidy. But then what that means is, well, I need to internalize what I can do to help get things more manageable. So then at the end, as everything gets swept up, it can then be put into the right receptacles as necessary, right? The room will eventually get clean. It's just it has to get into piles, and then those piles get swept up, and you'll eventually have a clean room.
That is
So,
an interesting insight.
mhm,
You were
yeah.
saying you were
So
going to finish your thought?
Yeah, no, so that's how it is, and honestly, that's the challenge that I got with Sister Shar. Hey, brother Karras, we need to have some processes up in here, brother Karras. We need to, and then we just got through something today, and it's like, so Sister Shar, how do you feel about this? It's like I feel good. I feel better about this, and we're seeing a lot of the things going together because why? The trash was getting in the pile.
We just need some structure.
Yeah, yeah.
Just a little structure. Here's another one for you. A lot of men find that different stereotypes and biases around women gives women preferential treatment in the workplace. Do you believe that's true?
Yes, yeah, and what we try to do is that look, we don't have that preferential treatment. We just don't. And here's the thing: we don't have that because we rely on other women in leadership to give us that understanding because we're always thinking and collaborating with one another. Hey,
So
Sister
we have
Shaw,
to
what
take
about
it on
this?
the
Sister
chin.
Shaw, what
So we
about
have to
that?
take
Yeah,
it on the chin just like the brothers do.
yeah, yeah. We fall back. Hey, you tell me what? How many times have I said? You tell me what you think about that? Because something you tell me. That's how we work. That's how we do it.
Yeah, we it's a pretty it's pretty brutal work sometimes. You can't have your feelings on your shoulders. So do you think that there's any other biases about men or women that make a difference in the way that we work with each other?
Absolutely, absolutely, and it's not necessarily biases as a bad thing. Biases just means that there's something that's a preconceived element about either ourselves or situation that we're in. And it just means that we need to be able to really focus and really internalize in terms of how do I present the information to this particular person, to this particular group? How do I ensure that with this type of thought process and that type of thought process, they're able to come together and see the big picture with things? And I learned that second or firsthand because why? Sister Shaw would say that I'm doing what? I'm doing the king of swirl, right? I be swirling, right? And that's
Yep.
where she would be hemming me up. Hey, brother Karras, your swirl. I'll talk to Mike Roebuck, and it's like you and Mike Roebuck, you know what you're doing. But that's really we have to tailor how we message, and that's the most effective, really, tool that we have as a people. We've always been communicating. Shoot, we communicate based off of fabric patterns and singing. So stop. We always communicate. We communicate with just how we look at one another and look at our eyes and how we blink.
Especially at the office potluck.
Yeah,
Who
yeah,
made
yeah, exactly. You look at a dish and then they see people look at that dish. They don't want to eat that dish.
that?
Next.
Here's the third one I'm gonna ask you to chime in on. A lot of men say that working with women in mixed office spaces creates challenges and unique opportunities about navigating boundaries with women so that there's not any kind of tension unnecessarily in a workspace where they're working with women. What do you think? What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think that as everybody is in the HVAC vacuum sealed suit with their own self contained, breathing apparatus, everything is good. But the reality is that, look, you just have to understand how do we communicate and shape our boundaries with one another, right? How do we express our feelings? A lot of our people, we didn't know how to really express our feelings when we came together. And so people's feelings would always be, well, I need to be rigid and tense and this and that. Look, when Question Night Africa first started, it was, well, I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do this. And it was just everything everywhere all at once. And then we had to say, wait, time out. let's start to get these guidelines and let's start to get these pillars established. And then folks started to understand, okay, I need to fall on this line, I need to fall on this line. And it had to start from the top down. The mentorship was literally from the top down. Hey, you can't do this. We need you to do this. We need to do this. And then everybody was able to see things became more pragmatic. They became more, uh, 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 I would say, workable, right? They were more understood. And it provided a better context of how people could see the verticals, right? How do I see the up? How do I see the down? And how do I see to one another?
Now,
And that's where, yeah, go ahead.
I want to touch on the boundaries issue with respect to my experience working with this particular group of people, because at every meeting, every time we get together, the fellowship and the regard and the honor literally feels like we are all brothers and sisters. Like, I can't even say that that was my experience in church. I can't say that I felt that brotherly, sisterly regard to the degree that I'm experiencing right now at Quest Unite Africa. And to me, that is the boundary. You know, it's Brother Michael who always talking about your brother, your sister. Like, he is so zero tolerance when it comes to not holding your brother or your sister down, not coming to your brother or sisters, you know, having their back. And I would say that he's a big part of that cultural, you know, construct within Quest Unite Africa when it comes to wait, now hold on now. Yes, you know, you got this part of what we need, but we're dealing with our brothers and sisters. And, you know, keeping that balance between the business and the family. And so for me, you know, I can't speak for anybody else, but for me, that's the biggest boundary. And that's the most precious element of why there's no weird, there's no awkward, there's no off with being in a mixed gender workplace, because we literally are brothers and sisters at Quest Unite Africa. And so, you know, I just want to speak into that and continue to encourage that, because everyone who's a part of our organization who works with us, I would even say, you know, what we have been noticing about the cultural engagement team recently, how much they've been gelling as, you know, family, and bringing that family spirit into the meetings where we're just laughing. We're all showing up at the table, laughing and having a good time. And all right, let's get to work. So I appreciate that. And I'm looking forward to more of that as the organization continues to do amazing things and continues to grow. So as I promised you, I wanted to also give you the opportunity to grill Sister Shar. So if you want to take this opportunity to speak about what challenges you the most when you're working with me, I am open to constructive feedback.
You know what though? Honestly, I like how you're able to really, sometimes you'll get under my skin and you'll just say something just off the wall, and it's like, oh, I don't know. And I have to think like, are you serious or not? And then when you get on me about, well, Brother Karras, with you doing your schoolwork, is that something that's going to be vital to the organization? Brother Karras, is that chargeable to the organization?
He can't steal time for Quest Unite Africa, y'all. Yeah. Not on my watch.
Now, what does that do for the organization, Brother Karras? Oh my goodness. So, yeah, she keeps you on my toes, and that's good. All of our board members, they do that. You know, even when she said, "Hey, Brother Walt's gonna be your boss," Brother Walt's like, "Yeah, that's right, Brother Karras. I'm gonna call you at 9 o'clock at night and talk about what the Monday projects are looking at. I said, man, all right, here. Oh my goodness.
Oh, you are such a good sport about being accountable.
Oh man. I
You
said,
are
you
you
gonna
are the best sport, and I know you don't like it. I know you don't like it, but you are such a good sport about it. So, do you have any parting thoughts that you would like to share with the family before we shut this thing on down, as you would say?
Yeah, you know what? Thank you for having me on Law for Love. I think this is great because the life balance includes the work balance, right? And a good percentage of our life is working. And if you don't know how to be able to function in an organization or in an environment that is functional, that's going to sap your life. And see, we are called to live life exceedingly and abundantly, not just in resources, but also with how we interact with each other. See, if you want life breathed into you, you're going to do what? You're going to give life. That's just how it goes. Now, you can criticize and still breathe life. Hey, I think we could probably look at this, or I think we could probably look at that. And that's where, we've gotten better as an organization, as a people, to be able to rebuttal or try to, re-engage or re-strategize and restructure what we are trying to do. Because the more that we keep the negative out, honestly, the more that we function. And I like to say this, we have a high functioning, not just board, but man, we have high functioning teams all throughout the organization. And
Yes,
that's not a testament to me, that's the testament to the Most High.
yes, yes, absolutely. Thank you for number one, pushing me out here into social media. Um, and being that necessary aggravation, right? Because sometimes we don't make a move until there's like that level of pressure that is like, all
Mhm.
right, fine, I'll do it. So thank you for that. Thank you for your support for the channel. Thank you for, again, your leadership. Again, a part of the biggest thing that I try to keep on the forefront of my mind is how to yield to your authority so that you can be great, so that Brother Michael can be great, so that Brother Walter can be great, so that every other man in Quest Unite Africa can be great. Because the entire time we've been here, this system has prospered on keeping its foot on your neck as men and giving women dominance over you so that you will never come into your full potential
Mhm.
as he who is made in the image of the Most High. And so I take it really seriously when it comes to step back and let the brothers lead, step back and let the brothers be great. Let them go forward and be everything that the Most High has deposited in you to be. And so I appreciate this being a space where our men take it really serious. You all take it very serious that you all should be out front and leading us. And that gives us the necessary cover we need to do what we got to do to make things nice and tidy and neat, like, like how you said we want it. So thank you for that. And thank you for joining us. So family, I just want to thank you all for joining us again. We're doing this every Monday night, having these conversations. He say, she say. Look, I'm mediating what women are saying, what men are saying. We're all saying the same things, but the gender war stopped here at Law for Love. So I look forward to seeing y'all next time.